Okay, I now call this meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Elections to order. It is 3 minutes past 3 o'clock. We have a quorum present. Uh, Mr. Caroma, Ms. Dillon, Ms. Delao, and Mr. Vincent are all present. We're expecting Ms. Anya um, shortly, uh, and Ms. Hober is going to have to miss today because she is on jury duty. So thank you all um, for being here. Um, uh, the first order of business are board president's remarks. I do have a couple of things or a few things to touch upon today. The first is that I want to make a special point to acknowledge the recent departure from the board of our former deputy director, Alsoon McLaughlin. Um, she was a fountain of knowledge on election issues, and I believe that she arrived in 2012. So basically, almost all of my time on the board, we have worked together. She also has been a very responsive um, staff person for our representatives in Annapolis when they have questions about bills. Sometimes those questions, as you might imagine, come up on short notice, and she has been very good about responding to those. And she's obviously an expert uh, in the field of elections, having worked for uh, uh, the Pew Foundation and having also worked for the DC Board of Elections earlier in her career. And as I understand it, she is on the agenda as an expert for an upcoming uh, program of the Federal Election Assistance Commission. So anyway, I just wanted to express my appreciation to her publicly for her work. She also was our acting director for the 2022 year, and which was a very, very challenging year. Um, Former President Jim Shalek and I still argue over which was more challenging between 2020 and 2022. I still think 2022 was more challenging, but we'll probably debate that for the rest of time. In any event, we appreciated her service, and I just wanted to say that. I also want to talk a little bit about the board schedule. We are meeting today on the fourth Monday in January. We will also be meeting on the fourth Monday in February because the third Mondays of January and February are federal holidays. Um, we go back to the third Monday in March. I incorrectly said at one of our previous meetings that we would also be changing the schedule in June because of the Juneteenth holiday. But the Juneteenth holiday is not a Monday holiday. The Juneteenth holiday is on June the 19th. So as of now, at least, we are scheduled to meet on Monday, June 17th, which is the third Monday in June. It is possible that we may have to change that date because the state is scheduled to certify the state election results on that Tuesday, June 18th, and they may need more time from us for our certification. We'll kind of play that by ear as it gets closer to that month. It's possible we would meet in our regular meeting on the 17th and do our certification separately. It's also possible that we would move the June meeting and do everything at once. We're going to play that one by ear and hopefully decide that pretty soon. I would remind board members that, and for those of you who are not new to the board, you probably don't need a reminder that a recount is always a possibility in an election because we've had a few of those. Um, and I just wanted to point out that if there is a need for a recount in the 2024 primary election, that there's a good chance that that recount would be taking place the week of June 24th. And that's because the request for the recount is required by law to come after the state certifies the result. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, on the scheduling question, I want to thank everybody for beginning the process of figuring out our canvas schedule for the primary election canvas, which will start on Monday, April 22nd, and which we're going to have a lot of different days that we're going to be meeting both before and after the primary election. Um, Appreciate everybody working with us on that. And we will kind of stay in communication. As today's meeting is demonstrating, it is not difficult for things to come up for people. And so on those days where currently we have 4 board members who can attend, and 4 board members is the minimum for our quorum. Our quorum is 4 board members with 1 from each political party. On the days where we have that as our current plan, we really are going to be in a better position if we have at least 1 more in case things come up. We have had things come up in past canvases, whether there were family issues, personal health issues, work issues, etc. So I hope everyone will just keep that in mind. So that was all I had. Does anyone else have any preliminary comments that they wanted to make before I move on in the agenda? Okay, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, I had requested under old business that the bylaws review. I requested that be removed. I do not have the information to discuss that at this board meeting.
Okay, we will consider that to be removed, which someone may have to remind me later, but that's great. Thank you for letting me know that.
And I would also request that the board have a closed session, an executive session at the end of the meeting pursuant to section 3-305B to discuss a matter that involves the privacy or reputation of individuals concerning a matter that's not related to public business.
Okay, would it be appropriate for us to vote on that now?
No, but I think it's appropriate to make an announcement to those that are attending that there will be an executive session at the end of the meeting.
Okay, when we get to the end of the meeting, I will entertain a motion along the lines that Kevin just described so that we can have what will hopefully not be a lengthy executive session. Anything else, Kevin?
No.
Okay. Next on the agenda is disclosure of campaign contributions or attendance at fundraisers. Do any of you have anything to disclose today? Okay, see none. We will move on. Next is public comments. Boris. I believe we have at least 1 public commenter. Am I correct?
Did you see that one? I'm sorry.
We received 1 request for public comments,
So she didn't sign up.
but I'm not sure that person.
Actually signed up to address the board. Did they? I'm going in, I'm going in, I'm going in again. So sorry.
All right. For now, let's go with the people who did sign up first.
Nobody signed up. Nobody signed up. We only had announcement from 1 individual that would like to address the board.
Okay, and that
I'm trying to
individual.
recall the name.
I don't have anyone in here.
It's in that email, Lisa.
Oh. This is the communication with.
Okay, let's figure this out.
Oh, it's coming in.
If she's on.
If we knew her name, Jerry could see if she's on.
Now-
It's Mrs. Othman, but I do not see.
No, I think that her email was that she wanted to come to our February meeting. I believe. Well, no, I take it back.
Yeah.
She said at our next meeting, but you're saying that she's not here and she did not sign up.
That is
We,
correct.
that is correct, because she didn't sign up, and I'm just keep looking at the attendees list. I don't see the name.
Right, she's not, I'm looking at the attendees list as well, and I don't see her as well.
That's what she-
All right, so let's move on, and we will hear from her on another occasion. But is there anyone else who has signed up to address the board?
Nope. No one signed up for today.
Okay. Last call for anybody who is an attendee, if they would like to attend to address the board. Otherwise, we will move on with the agenda. If you are seeking to address the board, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, going once, going twice. Okay, we are moving on in the agenda. The next thing on the agenda is the election director's report. Boris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just go very briefly over the director's report, which is structured as any other report previously. The first section refers to the minutes and the materials that were distributed to the board and provided on our website to general public. All the materials were up on Thursday with the agenda shared earlier that week. In addition, as board will remember that last board meeting, staff didn't present any minutes, so both November and December minutes were shared with the board for January meeting. When it comes to action items from the previous meetings, there was a request for more details about the financing of a sorting equipment that we have since 2022. As I promised, I looked, and total monthly lease for the sorting machine, 30 bins and two big letter openers with the date stamps and everything, comes to an amount of $11,630. That lease expires at the mid-June 2027, and board will have option to purchase the equipment for $1 once that option, lease is paid off. According to the documents that I found out about this purchase, the lease was approved in the second half of 2022. One-time payment option was offered together with lease, but I cannot really tell more details why one option was selected, not the other. My understanding at that time was that at that late in the fiscal year, a purchase of $500,000 might not have been a viable option. When it comes to voter registration statistics, we present the same numbers as previously: numbers of active voters, numbers of inactive voters, and the total at the end of December for the Montgomery County was 746,222 voters. When it comes to the State Board of Elections, on January 4th, the State Board met and approved the changes to our polling place plan, reflecting the consolidation of precincts 0419 and 0434 as approved by the board at its December meeting. January 17th, State Board started mailing out applications for mail-in ballots to all voters, Democratic and Republican voters in Montgomery County who already don't have an application on file. Later on, mailing will go out to unaffiliated voters, while the third mailing will encompass all the voters who registered to vote since the first mailing began. When it comes to personnel, Ms. Talia Guevara joined the voter registration and started on December 18. Tim Gartrell and Adam Luton were selected for IT Tech 2 positions, and they joined the board on January 2nd. They previously served as our temporary colleagues. We have completed interviewing for office service coordinator candidate filing, and we expect onboarding to happen in next 2 weeks. Interviews for voter education training specialists are happening this week. As I mentioned to the board earlier, we did complete interviews for program manager 2 water services. We did select candidates, but we didn't manage to onboard anyone. Therefore, we re-advertised the position, and we will be looking to interview eligible candidates in the coming weeks.
Boris,
And
is that your old position?
that's my old position.
Okay, thank you. So
So
that's the voting, I'm trying to remember what we call it, because you
water
gave us,
services.
yeah, the voter services director, I think is what we called it. Yeah.
A manager, but I've been called
Okay.
different title assigned to that.
Okay,
And I did a request that the OHR agreed to extend the ad for the deputy election director position, which will close at the beginning of February, and hopefully then we will go into interviewing for that position as well. When it comes to the temporary positions, as we are getting closer to the elections and multiple deadlines, including mailing of applications, and we are a deadline to change voter status, and etc., training as well. We started onboarding our temporary colleagues. We currently have 20 temporary staff members in the building to help us. More temporary staff will join us. They will join us as required by the processes and the election calendar. When it comes to budget, budget was shared with the board, is posted on our website. It indicates all the expenditures and actuals as by the close of last year, or December 31st. When it comes to section activities, I did put few more information about staff's efforts to reach out and share information with the voters and our plans for the upcoming elections. The first one is that we are working with our colleagues from TEBS. Staff has prepared and will start emailing 430,000 emails to anyone who shared their email address with us upon their registration. Our effort is to alert our voters that there is an option to go and check their voter registration record, to update their address if they have moved since the last elections, to request mail-in ballot, or to change the preferences how to deliver that mail-in ballot, maybe from web delivery to mail, or to cancel voter registration if they moved out of the state, or for any other reason. Effort, as I said, we hope to receive responses from our voters and do the changes as far out from elections as possible, so we can minimize, hopefully, the overtime hours and everything that will come to the team once we start hitting voter registration deadlines, or the deadlines to request mail-in ballots, or anything similar. Part of the effort as well is we are preparing to work with the nursing homes and assisted living facilities as every other year. This early, we obtained the full list of every facility that exists in the county. Overall, total is 300. Those facilities range from 3 beds up to 300 or so. We did initial mailing notifying that the official election mail will be sent to their residents. And in case of some of their residents not being in those facilities anymore, asking them to return that mailing to us so we can start inactivation or cancellation process as required by the law. The next thing is that we are working with our colleagues from DGS in the print shop. We are preparing maps of each precinct that we would like to place at the polling places, that would indicate to voters location of precinct area, and telling them that in case they live in that area, that they will vote regular ballot. If they don't, they will vote provisional, or they can just text the word check and find out their polling place. This is just another effort on our end to get more up-to-date information on our records, hopefully to reduce the number of provisional ballots going forward as well. We spoke earlier with the state. Now we are doing it ourselves. All the outgoing letters that come from the board will have a line on the envelope indicating or advising anyone who receives that envelope to return it to us if the addressee doesn't reside in that household or that address. And of course, the last thing is we are exploring options to introduce QR codes to gauge voters' experience at the polling places. This is not to replace the paper comment cards. This is just additional option that we would like to roll out this year. Still few details to work out with our colleagues from TEBS, but that's something that's work in progress. When it comes to different sections, their work, when it comes to water services, like any other given Monday, everything that comes in terms of voters' requests, records from voters themselves, state or other sources, we are processing. There's a notable comment here that the staff did process our share of signatures that were collected by no labels party to establish new party in the state of Maryland. Staff completed that exercise. The deadline was January 10th. When it comes to IT, IT staff is currently working on programming the training equipment that will be rolled out for the training of our election judges. IT manager is still working with the TEBS on replacement of election work and future vote portal. The training curriculum is in preparation, as well as materials for the trainings of election judges that should commence mid-February. Operations, we are going through our supplies, replenishing everything that's needed, trying to have everything in place as early as possible in the run-up to the elections. And when it comes to recruitment, I just wanted to make a short note indicating what I mentioned last time as well, that QR codes and everything that can be done on the phone is gaining a lot of traction in our county, and people like it. That since April 10, we have received over 2,400 requests. When it comes to the meetings, board's media committee met on January 10th and reviewed the staff's media budget allocation recommendation that will be on the board's agenda today as well. On January 12th, board president, board secretary, and election director joined the deputy state election administrator and SB staff. We met Montgomery County Students for Change, and the discussion focused on their proposal to lower the voting age requirement. And if the board members, they can see there is a bill in the new legislation that addresses that issue. Mr. Williams, our finance specialist, and myself will be meeting county executive and the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, on February 1st as a operational preparation of the budget. The board will be meeting county executive on the same topic on February 5th. And the staff has been invited to attend a Rockville post-election forum. After every municipal election, Rockville Election Board organizes public forums to discuss their election performance, what could be done better for the next time around. And we will attend the one that is taking place on Thursday, January 25th from 7 to 9 in Rockville City Hall. That will be elections director report for today.
Thank you, Boris. I have a couple of questions, and if others have questions, please just raise your hand. First, I want to congratulate you on the various communications efforts that you're making for elections. You talked about having precinct maps displayed at each polling place so that the voters can know whether they are in the right place for election day, and and also to obviously give them the option of using the texting service in order to find where their polling place is. I was wondering whether those maps are going to be publicly available as well. If somebody wants to get precinct maps like the ones that will be at the polling places, is that something that they can do?
We have all the precinct maps already on the website. The only difference for these maps will be that they will have text above, which says if you live in for example, in the shaded area, this is your polling place. Otherwise, you'll vote provisional or go text check to 77788 to confirm your polling place.
Okay,
So polling place maps are already available on the website.
okay, great.
The precinct maps, sorry, precinct maps.
The precinct maps, yeah, not
Yeah.
the polling place maps. I also appreciate the effort to make sure that all of the envelopes that we send include information about returning the envelope if the person doesn't live there, which obviously has been an important fact for our list maintenance for many years, but the envelopes did not always make that clear to the recipients of the mail. So thank you for that as well. Did anyone else have any questions that they wanted to raise? Margie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a quick question about the sorting machine that I just wanted to clarify something about the machine. So we are leasing it from the State Board of Elections, and then the Montgomery County Board of Elections is going to be buying it for $1. Is that correct?
So my understanding is at the time when Montgomery and I would say 2 or 3 more counties started the process of obtaining the equipment, the state had a contract with the vendor. So we utilized the existing contract that state had in place to procure the equipment and secure the lease of that equipment through that contract.
Okay, so it goes
We as the county didn't have a contract directly with the vendor.
Okay, so we have a contract. The State Board of Elections has a contract, and then we use that contract, but it's technically not, we don't have the contract with the Montgomery, like the Montgomery County Board of Elections doesn't have the contract directly.
We have, I believe that we have a lease contract with the vendor, but in
Okay.
order to enter it to a lease, a contract had to be in place, recognizing a vendor as a provider to the entity. And the contractor vendor didn't have a contract with the county. Therefore, we used the existing one at the state. Therefore, the payments go through the state bill.
Okay, so the payments go through the state. Okay, and then my only follow-up question is to that is that, so say when the Board of Elections purchase the equipment for $1, we still would have that annual $42,000 fee for maintenance and support. And would that be through the vendor as well, or is that something like we'd incur in-house? I mean, that seems like a very big thing to incur in-house, so I was just curious.
So with all honesty, I cannot answer that question from a legal point of view, because I believe once we purchase the equipment, the state board will be out of equation. It will be, in my view, directly asked to the vendor. However, recognizing that so many counties have a contract with the vendor, I believe that there might be a solution on the state that we all stay on the same agreement. Again, this is a conversation that will come up in 2026, and solution would need to be put in place, because we will need to continue with the maintenance. We will need to continue with the licenses that we use. But I cannot speak from the top of my head, but I believe in order for us to go one-on-one contract with the vendor will have to become a contractor for the county.
Okay.
And that's like separate process. Or if the state has a running contract, which all other counties might just opt to use it and get pay for the equipment through the state bill.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alex.
Boris, you mentioned something about licenses. I mean, if we buy this, then we will be paying directly the $42,000 a year for maintenance, right? We won't need to procure any licenses because we will own the machine, right?
So that's the part that I really have to inquire a bit more. There's a part of the license as a programming that goes into machine and the software that is being used. There's this need to alter the programming as per election, depending on the changing number of ballot styles or similar. So it's something that we are literally working now with other counties and the vendor. And when we go through the process, I'll be able to speak more. We only had one elections. My understanding that number of precincts stays the same. We have to see how the state will organize the barcodes and reading and everything for the sorting. So that's the angle that we still have to confirm.
So it might be like a software license or something because it runs software.
Yeah, because no one does reprogramming of software but the vendor itself.
Right. And Mr. President and our election director, I would note, I sort of did a little bit of the math. If you add up the annual lease payments, I'm assuming it's a 5-year lease. I think the total cost of the machine will be just under $700,000. Substantially more than the 461 one-time payment, but I suppose if there was no other option because that one-time expenditure would have been too much, then it is what it is. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Boris, I have a question that you might be able to help us with. I didn't realize that there were 2 different budget meetings with the county executive. And that you are actually attending one on February 1 and one on February 5. I know that we're invited on February 5. Is there anything you can tell us about what the difference is between the first meeting and the second one?
So that is standard practice. That was the case last year. The difference is the first, if I can, the way I at least try to simplify it in my head. The election director and the finance specialist do the math. The board does the policy. So the board stand is, for example, that we need more advertisement, more stuff, or anything. Our job is to defend the numbers, and I believe the board will support the policy reasoning for all those requests that are included one way or another.
Yeah, because it's going to definitely be some math involved in our policy, but
you cannot separate one from another.
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments about the director's report? Alex.
We cannot hear you, Alex.
We can't hear you, Alex.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes. If it's possible, and it would be helpful to know something about the math before we walk into the February 5th meeting, it might be good to know that, even a summary of it in advance, to be a little better informed when we're meeting with the legislators and the county executive.
I believe if the board agrees, for the last year's budget meeting, I prepared a memo. I would say it was like 2-pager memo for all the budget lines, and that is my intention this time around as well.
That would be great. And I just
short paragraph for every key item that was reviewed by the board one way or another.
Right. And I just wanted to clarify, legislators are not part of this meeting. It's just the county executive.
No, you're right. You're right.
So okay. Anything else, Alex?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, Boris.
Thank you.
I have to go back and find the agenda again, but I believe that the next thing on the agenda is usually the council's report.
You're correct, David.
Okay.
So I've reached out to Cliff Royalty at the Montgomery County Attorney's Office to review the MOU for the early voting sites involving the Montgomery County locations. We've heard back from Sandy Spring. Boris and Mindy went out. One of the ongoing concerns has been that some voters block the fire equipment at Sandy Spring. And so Boris and Mindy have come up with an action plan to address their concerns. I've heard back from our contact who said that they're satisfied with what Boris and Mindy are proposing. So once that's been finalized, they're going to sign the agreement and get it back to us. And I've reached out to Gaithersburg, but I have not heard back. But I suspect I probably will soon from either Lynn Board or from Frank Johnson on that agreement. I have a meeting with Stephanie Williams on a totally unrelated matter, who's general counsel of the Montgomery County Public Schools tomorrow. However, I do intend to make sure that I get on her calendar for us to finalize the MOU that we're going to need for the drop boxes. And I need to work with Mindy and Boris to make sure that we get the coverage for Montgomery County Public Schools for the video footage for the drop boxes, and schedule something with Montgomery College to address the same issue with regard to the drop boxes at those locations as well. But I am hopeful that all of that will be finalized by the time of our next board meeting in February.
Thank you for all of that. Boris and Mindy, thank you for making sure that the fire equipment in Sandy Spring can be operational. I'm as enthusiastic about voting as anybody, but we don't want to be blocking the fire trucks from getting where they need to go. So that's excellent. And Kevin, thank you for that. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. We do not have any old business on the agenda. Does anybody have any old business to bring up? Okay, then next is the website, Boris.
So very, very briefly, we continue presenting to the board and general public the statistical report on the same categories as in previous months. If the board compares December to November, they will see a significant drop in across the categories. We did reach out to our colleagues who are responsible for generating these reports. According to them, everything is in line with the expectations, December being a month when apparently our website and the websites across the government do not get so much traction. I just wanted to say, for example, we all board will remember that in October, November, our sample ballot was very high on the list because of the local elections. It's not in top 10 anymore. That's how the trend is. So nothing new. Maybe one note: while the number of visits went down, the number of time that people spend on the website increased. So we are getting people who spend more time, maybe researching more, looking more. But that's the core group of the smaller number compared to the previous months.
Okay, thank you, Boris. Any questions about the website report? Okay, then the legislation update, Boris.
So legislation update, this is the first board meeting within the new legislative session. As I said, this is this document that was shared with the board that's available on our website. Will be a living document through 90 days of legislative session in 2024. I tried to capture all the bills that are election related, present them divided by House and the Senate, put them in order so everyone can follow. On the left column, you will see the how the bills were filed, and you will see the link that will take you to the website, to the full text of the bill itself. Short synopsis of the bill as presented as well, chairs. The last column, which says the status, we will try to keep this alive and notify the board about any hearings on the bills that are coming up. I didn't even count them, but I would assume there is over 20 bills currently that cover various topics. One of them I mentioned earlier, it's about lowering the voting age for the voters to vote for the Board of Education. There's There's a House Bill 261 that was the last one that I added. It's titled Unemployment Insurance Benefits and Election Judges. That could be quite significant for us because of the recruitment. And there are a few bills that deal with how to fill the vacancies on which levels. So I cannot say that I can answer all the questions, but if the board can take this document as a starting point, and we can have a conversation as we go about any bill that is going through the hearing, or what staff interprets the bill, the way the staff interprets the bill. Or if the board believes that something should be added to this report, because I was just not sure if this covers everything, but having access to the bills, synopsis, the sponsor, and the status sounded kind of comprehensive to me.
Thank you, Boris. As far as House Bill 261 goes, that you mentioned about the unemployment insurance law, as I understand it, this would be to allow those who are receiving unemployment benefits to get their election judge stipend in addition to those benefits. Is that correct?
That's how I read it. That's how I understood it.
That's correct, David.
Okay. And that's from delegates Plavkovich, Carr, Wilkins, and Charkoudian, who are proposing that. And then I know that there are, like you said, there's a variety of bills about how to fill vacancies. There's a local bill about how to fill vacancies on the Board of Education. There are both a House and a Senate bill concerning how to fill vacancies in the legislature. And there also are some bills that deal with whether unaffiliated voters would be able to request to affiliate with a political party at early voting. As I understand it now, if you want to affiliate with a political party, you have to change your voter registration 3 weeks before election day, which is, I guess, roughly a week and a half before early voting begins.
April 23rd is the deadline.
Right. But as I recall, early voting is May 2nd through 9th. So, so if it were to take effect this year, and I don't remember whether the bill takes effect this year or not, but if it were to do so, it would allow people at early voting to essentially declare that they wanted to. I don't remember whether the bill says whether you simply say I want to vote that ballot, or whether you say I want to affiliate with that political party. But that would be at early voting that they would be able to do that if the legislation were enacted, if I understand that correctly. Do we have any technical thoughts about that? Is it possible?
I believe that that's actually the question that the state board would need to answer, because we are talking about uploading voter records as collected by the close of voter registration. And I'm not sure if there's a technological solution in place to move up that process, which is not just switch off a button. That requires some time. But I just looked now, the House Bill 257, the election law affiliated with the party and voting unaffiliated voters. It has effective date as January 1st, 2025.
Ah, okay.
And I believe there's a similar bill on the Senate side.
There is Senate Bill 99, I believe.
And it's also effective date January 2025. So I believe that legislatures are aware of potential technical requirements that would need to be in place in order to enable this process to go forward.
Okay, that's very helpful. Does Does, oh, Diane, go ahead.
Thank you. Just for point of clarification, as it currently stands, the state of the law right now is that one cannot change their party affiliation at the polls, correct?
Correct.
And we're talking about the proposed legislation that would not go into effect until a year from now, if it's passed.
Correct. And that's
And
obviously
so-
a big if it's passed, because I'm sure there are many different views about this proposal in
Right.
the legislature.
So the discussion you just had with Boris was about how to enable it if it were to pass?
Correct.
I think I missed something.
Yes, I apologize if I didn't make it clear. My question was simply about the technical aspects of,
Got it.
you know, when someone says, I mean, obviously it's easy for us to say, oh, we want people to be able to do X, Y, or Z at early voting or on election day or whenever it is. But a lot of times, I personally don't know whether that, like when Boris said, it's not just a flick of a switch. I personally don't know that a lot of the time. So I'm asking him, you know, is that something that there's the technical capability to do now, or is that something that someone
Got
would
it.
have to figure out how to do?
All right,
And that, and then I was also pointing out that we're talking about a difference of roughly 9 days in terms of when people would be making their decisions as to. I mean, obviously, there's a convenience factor, you know, of being able to do something at the polling place. But I was just exploring what the legislation provides. I was not taking a position, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure
no.
that we need to.
Thanks. I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure if I missed a step in there. Thank you.
Well, it's possible that I missed a step in there, Diane. But my goal was simply to understand what the you know, what the proposal was doing. The only other thing I wanted to mention about legislation is that Delegate Polakovich Carr is in the process of drafting an amendment for one of the items that were on our list. I would not necessarily describe it as the most crucial of the items on our list, but the item on our list about a slight change to the start of the term of office of the Board of Education from the first day of December, which is what the statute says now, to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in December, which would be the day after the county officials under the county charter take office. Um, that proposal is being drafted and will be considered by, presumably by the delegation, but she said that she is amenable to that potential, you know, minor change. Alex.
Mr. President, is Delegate Carr on one of the committees that governs election legislation that affects us?
Yes. Delegate Polakovich Carr is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the committee of jurisdiction over election legislation in the House of Delegates.
Thank you.
So, in addition to having a long-standing interest in election issues, as do several of our legislators. Daniel.
Mr. President, just for the benefit of the public, Boris, can you touch on same-day registration and what are the details so that people know that there are many other options to register to vote?
So during early voting, in state of Maryland, new registrants have option to do same-day registration, and voters also have option to update their residential address. This is relevant in the course of early voting because every early voting center has every ballot style on disposal to the staff. So if you are new registered, the staff will be able to provide you with the right ballot style so you vote on for your precinct, your ballot style. The same goes if you're updating your residential address. That is exactly the reason one of the reasons why this is not available option on election day. So same day registration is available. Updating your residential address is available in that course.
Thank you, Boris, and I believe that's very important information for the public as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
And change of party affiliation is not available currently in that as part of same day registration. And of course, it's available on election day as well now. So, okay, thank you. Margie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a question about HB 40 relating to post-election tabulation audits. So my question is, I'm guessing, well, I guess my first question is if we already do a type of risk limiting audits, I'm guessing we do some sort of post-election audits, but I guess like, is this legislation asking us to do a specific type of audit in a specific way, or is it gonna say just do a risk limiting audit and then you figure it out how you do it, but there has to be a risk limiting audit?
So my understanding is that risk limiting audit is a specific type of the audit which dictates a number of ballots to be audited to a certain accuracy in terms of percentages of the election results. So for example, I believe the state of Georgia has it in many other locations, but in current post-election audits, we will get certain percentage of ballots cast for certain race across our polling places and election day. In terms of risk limiting audit, that number of ballots to be audited is highly dependent on the number of on the margin of victory of one candidate over another. In other words, so if a candidate A wins in landslide with 30 percentage points difference, the number of ballots that are required to be audited following this audit could be very limited, very small. However, if we have a close race or close contest like we had in 2018 and 2022 in primaries, we might be auditing every single ballot cast for that contest. So number of ballots that are subject of audit depends on the number of votes difference between the winner and the loser of that election.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Any other questions about the legislative report? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the next item on the agenda, which is the outreach update and the presentation and board consideration of the media advertisement plan for the 2024 presidential election cycle. Dr. Zelaya, which see, you fooled me, Dr. Z. I was looking at the attendees and I thought you were going to get promoted, and all you had to do was like shift chairs over them.
Yes. So hello everyone, Happy New Year. We're in January still. Regarding outreach, we are slowly gaining momentum, obviously with the weather and after the holidays, everyone is kind of recharging for spring. There's a couple of events that are in movement right now, so we're just waiting on confirmation on events. The calendar was provided to the board for January and February of this month and next month. The two biggest items on board is the 2024 National Help America Vote Day. We will be at numerous locations around the county, both during the morning, midday, and in the evening to facilitate participation from county residents. And as always, we will be hitting all corners of the county, up county, east county, down county, mid county, etc. to facilitate.
What day that is, Dr. Z?
That's going to be on the 30th of January.
Okay.
30th of January. And so that will give the opportunity for voters to engage with staff, ask questions, Not only will we'll be focusing on recruiting poll workers, then all the kit and caboodle from voting by mail information on ways to vote, updating your voter registration, et cetera. So it's an opportunity for us to engage the electorate outside of our office and our website. Also, we're going to start next week visiting again the high schools. We did a one-day visit early fall, and so now it's getting close to spring. Obviously, we're about 4 months and change from the election, so now once the holidays pass, we're a little bit more relevant to our voters, especially those individuals interested in serving as poll workers and to register to vote. So on the calendar, you would note that as well. Also, I want to thank let's see any questions on outreach as it pertains. Once January and February commence, we will be adding more events and we'll be updating the corresponding dates on our website as well. And if there are any community advocates on the Zoom right now, by all means, please reach out. As I have always stated, whether it's 5 people or 500, we want a table. We want to engage the electorate. So no party's too small for our team. Nonetheless,
or too large.
yeah, or too large. Yeah, or too large. Now I'm going to move. If there's any questions regarding outreach, if we can move to the media committee.
I just want to thank you because I know that there have sometimes been some quick turnaround events and then sometimes some quick turnaround events and the weather then changes them and turns them back. And you've been quite flexible on all of those, and it's much appreciated.
No worries, my pleasure. We got a shovel and some sand in the back of the truck.
Excellent. Oh, Diane has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Diane.
just a quick comment. I want to let everybody know what a tremendous job Gilberto did at a presentation for a group that I attended over the weekend, and it was, the amount of information was, I thought, so comprehensive and well delivered, and you were so greatly appreciated. So if anyone out there listening wants a real pro to come and visit them, we've got the guy.
No, thank you.
That's excellent. What was the group, Diane?
It was the Montgomery County Republican, no, it was the Upper Montgomery County, it was a Republican Women's Club.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear. Not surprising, but great to hear. Thank you.
Looking for poll workers.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We're always looking for poll workers, and particularly those of party affiliations that we want to make sure we have our bipartisan teams. So
thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Z, please proceed with the advertisement.
Yes, so we met. So I'm going to extend my gratitude to Kina and to Ami for meeting regarding the 2024 presidential election media campaign allocation of funds. During the session, there was a couple of questions that were brought up by board members in the previous meeting. One was regarding expanding to French speaking within the African diaspora, and also about the Spanish language. The full disclosure, we have about $70,375 to play with. Unfortunately, we weren't able to procure additional funds for the current fiscal year. So what I made a recommendation to the committee members is once we present to the board and approve, that we can move forward for both the primary and the general as we've done in the past. However, the caveat is if we're able to procure additional funds prior to the general election, we will convene the committee again to discuss expansion of the media campaign once we're able to procure money. One of the challenges that I communicated to them is the fact that everything's more expensive, from eggs to milk to, media coverage. And I've contacted the individuals. They've been contacting us as well. And they're willing to work with us at the same rate. And we've had no changes since 2018. And so I haven't committed anything to them. And I told them I need to speak to the board and need to get their approval first, but they're willing to work with us. So that in itself will allow us to just serve our voters in this climate of increased inflation. And keep in mind, there's some hot tickets. So the fact that we're able to get the same coverage at the same cost, it speaks volume with on the relationship that we have with the different outlets. Regarding French, I did reach out to the African liaison, Miss Shangare, regarding those outlets, and she identified two vendors, the Afrique Today, and then also the African Mirror. We work with them already. The African Mirror, you'll see the allocated. We get some ad space, full color with them, and some web exposure and interviews and stories. And with Afrique Today, we get multiple interviews as well. I did speak to them that if we're able to procure moving forward, we'll definitely be contacting them. But they're willing to work with us at gratis for the meantime until we're able to procure more funds. And regarding Spanish, historically, we always work with the two largest outlets, radio outlets, and one Spanish-speaking outlet, which is Washington Hispanic and La Mega and Radio America. Note as well that I'm also the Spanish language spokesperson for the Maryland State Board of Elections. So I piggyback on that relationship, and we get a lot of Spanish language interviews, web, radio, print, beyond the vendors that we have. So at the moment, because we have not procured funds, additional funds, leveraging that relationship with SBE does buttress our inroads with the Spanish-speaking medium. And that was one of the other comments I retrieved from previous meetings. So as it pertains to French and Spanish, I have full confidence that we got all corners covered in the meantime. If you look at the media allocation for the primary and the general FY 24-25, I still recommend Google AdWords at 13,877. We're able to change topics on the fly. In past elections, we've had to change dates. You know, we went from early voting and election day polling places to vote centers, and the Google gives us the flexibility to change those ads immediately. And we only are charged when an individual clicks a link to either request a mail-in ballot, to register to vote, to serve as a poll worker, to look at an early voting location, et cetera, or Dropbox location. So I would like to keep the same allocation of funds for that. For print, I'm going to go down the list: the African Mirror newspaper, Senior Beacon, the Korea Times, Washington Chinese News, Washington Hispanic, Atref Advertisement, and Vietnamese American Services. I would like to keep the same line item as we did in the previous elections. They are great partners with us. The cost, as you will see, for the African Mirror is $28.75, Senior Beacon $18.23, Korea Times $2,300, Washington Chinese News $3,000, Washington Hispanic $3,000, Atraf Advertisement $1,000, Vietnamese American Services $1,000, for a total of $14,998. And keep in mind, prior to taking the helm of the media campaign, in the past, we would usually get a fourth of a page black and white. Since we do a lot of outreach within communities, the county's diverse communities. So for example, we do a lot of outreach with CCACC, Chinese Community Services. And then they linked us up with the Washington Chinese, and they give us ads in full color page ads. So we have amplified really what we used to get in the past moving forward. So those relationships have reaped benefits. And as pertains to radio, once again, Radio America for $5,000, El Sol, $5,000, and that's both Spanish speaking. We'll continue with WMAL for $5,000, WMMJ, Magic 102 for $3,000, WPGC $5,000, WTOP $6,500, Wash FM, which the next four are part of the iHeartMedia conglomerate, for $3,000, Hot 99.5 for $3,000, WMZQ for $3,000, and WDDC DC 101 for $3,000, for a total of $41,500. These were surgically selected because of kind of the vast diaspora we have in the county. It's so unique. And so, you know, not only looking at Spanish language, but also within the different adult, contemporary, urban, country, alternative rock. So we're trying to hit every corner of the county. So if you look at the allocation of each of the funds, I think I believe and I'm confident that it reflects the county its diverse electorate, the language needs, and information that we want to convey to our voters prior to making that decision, whether they're voting by mail or in person during early voting or on election day.
Okay, thank you, Gilberto. Keynote, since you were on the committee, did you have anything that you wanted to say? And then I'll go to Diane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to very much thank Gilberto for the work that you've done to compile the information. I found myself very well educated about our budget and the work that you have done to leverage relationships over the years to get the most out of our funds. This truly is an effort of community engagement, and with the drop in the bucket that we have with this budget, so much has come out from it. I look forward to continue to be an advocate for this board to make sure that we continue to get funds to support the community engagement that's needed for our Board of Elections. But what has been done so far, I am truly impressed.
Okay, thank you. Diane.
Yeah, following up on what Keenan said, first of all, thank you, Keenan, Ami, and Gilberto for all the hard work. That is quite an impressive list. Is it possible to get a listing of all of these media outlets that you just enumerated for us?
It's in the meeting materials, I believe.
I was wondering about that. I
Yes.
couldn't.
I actually just got it off of the website, but I'm sure it was sent
Okay.
to us as well. I just don't trust myself to find it in my inbox. So,
Okay. Website.
yes, but the website did include it. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm quite sure we have it. I just don't know that I can find it.
Okay, I must have passed over that one. There was a, yeah, I won't go into it. Thank you.
But I'll email it to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Gilberto. A question for you. I want to make sure I understand. As far as the French language goes, you said that we are already working with some of the outlets. I believe African Mirror was one of them, but African Mirror is listed on the document as English. Are you saying that they do both English and French, and that is our advertising strictly English, or are we advertising in both languages, or how does that work?
So with the African Mirror, we do English, but the African speaking diaspora, that's kind of their main newspaper where they get information. And then with the other vendor, Afrique Today, they're an online format. We do, they help us and they provide interview formats where I would get interviewed, and then there's a translator, and then sometimes they'll do the caption when we do a taping, they'll add captions at the bottom. So those were the two vendors that were identified by our African liaison, kind of executive African liaison. But nonetheless, as I noted, if we're able to procure more money, we would purchase some ad space to have more of a presence with Afrique Today, which is exclusively in French and English.
Okay, so at the moment, we are relying on free media, and you're doing an excellent job of getting us free media. Thank you. It sounds like for the French language, because of the need, and I understand this, we have a pretty bare bones advertising budget. If we cut something in order to add something, we may be cutting something beyond where we should go. And I definitely get that. I'm just trying to, part of what I'm trying to understand is help us, to make our case for why we need more resources. It sounds like if we want to do paid advertising in French language, we need additional resources. We are currently doing free media for some of that. Is that an accurate description?
Correct.
And then when it comes to the Spanish language, we're doing some advertising in paid media, and we're doing a lot of free media, it sounds like. And if we had more resources, we could do more in the paid advertising.
Correct.
Category. And then, of course, a $3,000 expenditure in each of many of these is not a huge expenditure. So I don't know how many placements does that get us, or do you know? I guess
they range. So they range by vendors anywhere from 25 to about 35. So it really depends. But total with all of the radio spots, it's over 200. I don't have that sheet on me right now.
Okay.
And then we get PSAs as well, that what the vendors will do is they're called fillers. So, up 2, 3 in the morning, somebody is awake, but also they will circulate our paid ads within the PSA space.
Okay. So basically, if we were to get additional funding, we would be able to do paid advertising in additional languages. We'd be able to increase our advertising in the languages that we're already doing. And we would continue, of course, to do the free media that uh, um, that at the moment it seems to be a huge part of our outreach effort and an important one. I also want to commend you, whatever it is that you have done to prevent inflation from hitting us. We appreciate it, because I know that of all your communication challenges in your job, that one sounds like a particularly hard one. So thank you for your efforts on that. And I realize that's not just a communications challenge; that's a relationship building.
Thank you.
So very, very much appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Margie?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a question regarding the different buckets that we have. So I was just wondering what the thinking is behind how much money would go into each bucket. Sorry, I just got a notification. So what the thinking is behind how much goes into each bucket, because I see the radio takes up I think that's more than half our budget. So I was just wondering kind of the thinking behind that kind of choice.
Well, the penetration with radio it's larger than it is for print, and then the print has a different kind of audience. So we're kind of mixed it up. Where I envision where I would like to bulk, not just in the different languages, world languages, but also in digital. Because the benefit about digital and Google is that those ads, even though they're posted in English and Spanish, they could also get translated into different languages. So I select the multiple language, Amharic, French, Farsi, simplified traditional Chinese. So that really, even though you see like $13,000 for Google ads, you still have multiple languages that are, because it's a search engine. So if someone searches on their phone, happens to speak French, and they're searching mail in, it will pop up. But with the radio, what I wanted to do was it took the bulk, as you stated, because of just the diverse diaspora and the listenership. The good thing about these, if you look at them, it's a nice mixed bag of our audience, both generational, ethnic, the type of music, R&B, soft listening, country, etc. And because, look, we live in the DMV. Between LA, New York, Miami, and the district, it's expensive. And so that's the reason also it takes a bulk of our budget. It's just the cost to have a 30-second ad peak during rush hour is expensive. And that's the reason the bulk of the media, of the funds, goes to radio. It's just the cost.
So if I could just follow up, Margie, on what you said. So it sounds like, if I understood what you were saying correctly, Gilberto, that if we got additional funding, that we really should give serious consideration to putting a lot of it into Google. Simply because it sounds like it hits a number of different demographics through that one medium. Whereas if we go into radio is more of a narrowcaster, and you have to, and we are not being narrow because we're going to a lot of different radio outlets. But it just sounds like there might be more bang for our buck with the Google AdWords.
Yeah, the Google AdWords is great because you get charged when they click on that link. So if I search something, coworker service, and you see our ad in the particular language, unless that individual clicks that coworker application link to sign up, that's where we get charged. But if I Google it and I look at it, we don't get charged. So, and so I think that's a benefit as it pertains to Google Ads. But yes, radio has a lot of penetration numbers. It is the DMV. Unfortunately, fortunately, I have a 10-minute commute to my home, but a lot of us don't. So you're sitting in a car 3 hours every day if you work downtown or in Virginia. So it is what it is. But yes, Google Ads will be what I would bulk up first, then look at the bolstering French and even other languages, like even Vietnamese and Korean, Farsi. And so, but at the moment, this is what we have, and this is what I would like to recommend, with the caveat that if we procure more funds prior to the general, we'll convene again to see where we would add more meat to our campaign, and taking the recommendations as communicated by the board members today.
Okay, and I'm gonna call on Keena in just a minute, but I would just say that I'm gonna try and do some sleuthing because I'm not sure which comes first, the proposal for how we would spend more money or the procuring of the money. Because it could very well be that in order to, because we did get a significant vote out of the county council last time, but we didn't end up with the extra funding. And I would like us to do some additional conversations with people to see, do they need a proposal from us in order to explain to them what the extra money would buy? Because it sounds like you have some specific ideas, and we may want to use those in order to get the money, not just after we do. So thank you. Keena.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I actually wanted to follow up on a question I didn't investigate before. It's regarding streaming platforms. So in the sense of like a Pandora or a Spotify, have we considered having a budget to advertise in those spaces? Obviously, with the same vein that we would advertise like any kind of radio channel.
Years ago, I looked into the platform and it was expensive, but also I could look at it again. What I like about, for example, Google Ads is that I could isolate Montgomery County only. And so you don't get, so if I'm searching from Fairfax, Virginia at work, we're not going to get a ping unless you're within within the borders of Montgomery County. When you're looking at Spotify or Amazon Music, you could be standing anywhere in the world, and I need to get more information on that. But it's not a cheap platform to advertise on that. And I'm gonna be honest, my family, when we listen to that, we just skip and then we move on. But I like the Google because you're searching for that information and they'll charge us when they click on that link. The Spotify, that's a little more challenging because, like I said, in the past, we used to have ads at Comcast, and we changed that because I will be the first one to change. And just once a commercial came on, I just went to get more coffee or did something else. And then once the show went on, I would just go back. And people now are DVRing, they're recording their shows and they're not listening to those ads. So that I thought that was a waste of media budget when I took over the helm in 2018, and that's where we were focusing more on the Google Ads.
I look forward to an opportunity to discuss this more. That sounds like an exciting
But I'll revisit it.
review. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Alex, go ahead. We cannot hear you at the moment.
How about now?
Now we can.
Dr. Z, a couple of the print outlets, I think it was the Americ and the Vietnamese, have a parenthetical that says FY22 and FY23. I just wanted to know what that meant.
Oh, no, that's a typo. I apologize. I was literally cutting and pasting that column when I was creating the 24-25. So I apologize.
Have we advertised with either one of those in the past?
Yes. So what we did was we had to dilute African Mirror newspaper in order to add Vietnamese and Amharic. Because when we're looking at the vendors in FY 22-23, the board wanted additional language, the Vietnamese and Amharic. And we were looking, and I worked with the vendor, and he was flexible with us. The other vendors were like, well, if you're just going to get less. And so, kudos to the African mayor for helping us when we needed some assistance, because I did tell him that we were looking at really expanding within the African diaspora with a mark. And he was willing to work with us. But that was where that extra $2,000 came from, because I had to dilute African mayor. And that was the reason why we're able to get more funds. I didn't want to dilute any of the vendors again for this presidential election cycle.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the media committee's recommendation for this budget. Keena.
I move to approve the media committee's recommendation for the FY24 budgets.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, so it was moved by Ms. Onium, seconded by Ms. Dillon. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I've noticed that on our video, it does not show people's votes, so I'm gonna do a quick roll call vote so that we can make sure that we have record of how everybody is voting, if you don't mind. So the question is on approving the media committee's recommendation. Mr. Karoma, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, Ms. Onium, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. Dillon, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Vincent, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, and I vote aye. It is unanimous. Okay. Thank you very much to both the committee and to Dr. Z. And we will, I'm sure, be talking about what we can do to potentially increase our efforts with increased resources in this area.
Thank you so much. And once again, any future events, send them our way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is new business, and it is the presentation and board consideration of the no electioneering zones for the early voting centers. Boris Brajkovic, the election director, and Mindy Williams, the operations manager. And before they start, let me just say that my thought for today is that we will hear the presentation and we will ask whatever questions we have to ask, but we don't necessarily, we're kind of ahead of the game on this, so we don't necessarily have to vote on the electioneering zones today. We can, we can if we are so inclined, but we also can do that next month, because I know we also we have a number of things to do. So anyway, Boris and Mindy, please take it away.
Okay, we are trying to share the screen with the presentation. I will just say a few words and I'll leave it to Ms. Williams, our operation manager, to take us through the presentation. As the board president said, we are not facing a deadline to do it. I think it's opening a conversation on both electioneering zones for the early voting sites, and later on we will just briefly touch base on the polling place as well, giving an opportunity to all our voters, all interested citizens, to go to our website, review proposals or historicals of previous elections, come up with suggestions, and so we can present them going forward. Mindy?
Okay, bear with me while I rearrange this screen for 1 second.
Mindy and I do not keep our windows open in the same manner on our screen, so.
No, we don't. Boris. Okay, so just a quick run through of the proposed early voting, no electioneering boundaries for 2024. We've kind of revisited everything as being the same that was approved in 2022. We are running the presentation similar to before. This is the election law pertaining to the no electioneering zones within polling places. So it just gives a, just an educational aspect of why, and what.
Can you go back for just a second, please, Mindy, to that page? Thank you. So this is the page that defines the boundary, and I just wanted to call attention to B2II because Montgomery County has its own rule. Where it says that in Montgomery County, on approval of the local board, the line may be located at any point between 25 feet and 100 feet from the entrance and exit. So that's the standard for the no electioneering line.
Yeah, our Montgomery County
So-
caveat for the 25
Yes.
feet versus,
Yes. Okay, thank you.
We'll roll through real quickly, 1 through 14, Mid-County Community Recreation Center. This is the voter entrance as well as the no electioneering zone. The Executive Office Building includes 2 photos. This would be the main entrance at the cul-de-sac at the front of the building, as well as the rear entrance, lower level at the rear of the building. This leads you into the cafeteria. The Germantown Community Recreation Center. Marilyn Praisner Community Recreation Center also has, this has a second entrance. With us using the gym, we'll have the main entrance as well as the side entrance, which is a handicap accessible entrance.
Yeah, if I may just add, previously these centers was not used for the during early voting, but the board made passed a decision to move early voting to gyms wherever possible, and the Praisner is one of those locations. Therefore, this entrance becomes viable for the voters, especially from ADA perspective.
The Silver Spring Civic Building, my previous home. Silver Spring Civic Building, we also did an aerial photo as well as the regular photo. This just gives a better view from above the garage. You can see the no electioneering zone at being in front of the steps.
I can you go back, please, to the picture before the aerial picture? Because it looks like that doesn't look like it's in front of the steps. Maybe it is, but
This is actually right in front of the steps.
okay.
I only because I moved the trash can.
No, okay, because Mindy, you and I have both spent a lot of time on the no electioneering lines
We have.
in Silver Spring, but I thought, well, we can come back to that. I want to make sure that people can get up the steps and into the building without being blocked by electioneers.
And I believe that just this communication between you and Mindy, David, indicates what exactly is intention of this non-electioneering zone, to have a free movement on and off, up and down the stairs for the voters who are visiting early voting site.
Right, but I will point out that I don't believe that this picture has the Dropbox.
This picture does not have the Dropbox. None of the photos that we currently have the Dropboxes. However, we do have a plan to capture those for this cycle for future. For future.
Good.
But the Dropbox is, David, I know you know where it's historically located, right there at that column.
Yes, at that right column where it looks like the column gets a little bit wider. That's approximately where the Dropbox is.
Yep. And then if you look at the aerial photo here, you can see that the no electioneering signs do extend on the other side of the steps.
Yes.
Activity Center at Borough Park. So this is the front of the building. Here is we only did one.
Yeah.
Activity Center at Borough Park, and then Jane Lawton. There is so there is 2 photos for Borough Park. This gives a better depiction of the actual line. The previous photo, I think, kind of cut it off. You didn't really get the full view of how it arcs across the front of the building. The drop boxes, if I'm facing the building, is located to the left of the entrance. So this photo here gives us a better view kind of how the whole arc goes out across the front of the building. And then Damascus Community Center. Wheaton Library. This would be the front door, the main entrance of the facility. This is the Georgia Avenue entrance. And then this would be the parking garage, the elevator leading up into the parking garage. Potomac Community Center.
Do you want to go back to garage just for a second?
I was gonna say.
So, sorry for interrupting. When it comes to Wheaton Library, there are two entrances that are leading directly into the premise, into a facility. That's the main one, Georgia Avenue. And then there's the garage entrance that voters can use the elevator to go to the upper level of the facility, but the setup of the elevator doesn't allow you to enter the building itself from the elevator directly. What allows you is that on this photo on the far right side, this is the exit door for the elevator. This is where the voters would exit from the garage and use the main entrance to enter the building. So as it is now, the door is not within 25 feet, but my assessment is well under 100 feet that legally is allowed for the board to consider.
When you say the door, you mean the elevator door that's on the right-hand side of this photograph?
That's correct.
Okay, because I do have a question about whether we have, and this is a Kevin question that perhaps we can work on for next month. I do have a question as to whether we have the authority under the statute to have a no electioneering zone in the garage, because we have a no electioneering zone around an elevator that is not the entrance to the building. And I definitely understand that if it's within 100 feet of the entrance to the building, then we have that ability. But I don't think we can count vertical height as part of the 100 feet. So anyway, perhaps we can discuss that later.
Yeah, David, we'll certainly, I'd like to go out there and take a look at it.
And I may want to go with you when you do, Kevin.
Sure.
Because it's a complicated building with the multiple entrances and with the parking garage underneath the building. It's not our typical spot. Thank you.
And then we go into Potomac Community Center. Sandy Spring Volunteer Fire Department.
Yeah. If I may just add something about Sandy Spring, as Kevin noted earlier, Mindy and I did visit Sandy Spring, spoke to our focal point there with the Volunteer Fire Brigade, the department, and the fire captain.
Yeah, the
Chief.
The chief.
So we are putting a proposal together how to enable smooth voting operation, but that will not jeopardize in any way a swift and uninterrupted entry and exit for the fire cars, fire trucks from the facility itself. I have to say that following our visit, we did receive later last week some additional suggestions from the volunteer fire department that we would need to go back to measure, I would say, Mindy, ourselves and to take a look again. But again, this is just initial proposal, and this reflects 2022 with the caveat or just a suggestion to everyone to be mindful of community needs and fire brigade needs and try to avoid using entrances, using a designated road, and especially using space in front of the bay doors that host the fire trucks, so the guys can go in and out as necessary. They literally went on a call as we were approaching to have our meeting, so we had to sit and wait for the call to be over, the intervention to be finalized.
Alex,
Oh, I guess I was thinking we're supposed to wait, but I guess the question about this is it really a parking problem rather than where the no electioneering zone is? Because what I'm seeing on the screen here wouldn't seem to interfere with entry and exit of the trucks. It would be where the garage door is, and maybe it's a parking problem. I don't know.
It is primarily parking problem, and that was the essence of the agreement that we discussed. But right in front of this pole is ADA parking, and there is a drive-through for the other parking lot and the fire trucks base. However, on the right side, there is an entrance that the fire chief would like to remain designated for fire trucks only. So they can make a circle through the premises and enter the base from the back and exit up front without being interrupted by incoming cars, posters, or the campaigners. The key here is how to navigate. That's why that we have to go back. ADA parking has to remain open as close as possible to the main door. And this is the closest ADA parking.
This is the only ADA parking that would work at this location.
So it will be a balancing act to find the common ground and benefit for the voter, for ADA requirements, for the fire brigade, and for the election campaigners. So it's we'll take another look at all of this. But I think that communication about parking and traffic would be the key going forward in Sandy Spring. And
Boris, the photo that you sent me today that I literally just opened, can we share that, or do you want me to share it on my screen? Because you can't really see the entrance, the vehicle entrance from the picture that you're showing us right now. But if it's
you can bring it up on the screen.
All right, let me see if I have the technical skill and permissions to do that.
Well, we're gonna have to stop sharing. So do you want to roll through the remaining three
Yeah,
really
yeah,
quick,
yeah.
David, while you-
Go ahead. I'll come back to it. My comment is going to be that in order for us to understand this particular location, we're going to need more
wanna
pictures,
see.
and
Mhm.
we're gonna need to see a lot more, I think, than what we have. But anyway, go ahead.
This is just a side view of where it extends out from the front of the building at Sandy Spring. White Oak Community Recreation Center. Bower Drive Community Recreation Center. And then Daysett Community Recreation Center. We didn't flip-flop this
That's
presentation. And then that would be it. Now are you able to share it, David?
Let
Or I
me
can
find
pull
out.
mine up real quick.
I think I can share. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let's try this.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Side.
Let's see if this works. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, but you're gonna want to go to, I think it's the last,
Yeah.
maybe the last
maybe
photo within it.
maybe just to start with this photo, Dave, if you go back to the
Okay.
first
Okay.
now, as you approach the complex, right? There are two entrances. There will be two entrances on your right side. The first one, the fire chief would like to remain for fire department only because it allows the trucks to go behind the building and enter the base from that area. So if you are driving with your car to go to Sandy Spring to early vote, you will literally need to drive another 50 feet and make the same right turn just into bigger parking lot.
So it's kind of over to the left over here. But what he wants is he wants not to have traffic coming in this particular entrance over here. And I gather that the ADA parking you're talking about is over here.
That's
That's
correct.
correct.
And
And you can
so,
access that ADA parking from both entrances. First and
right,
second.
right, you can come in from the left as long as we keep it clear and that we don't have people just kind of hanging out there.
That's the issue.
Okay, should I go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So that's the second exit entrance. So if you go straight, you do what some people did last time. That's literally area where the trucks exit from. If you see in the back of the picture, you will see the bay doors for those truck engines. On your left, there's a turn into big water parking space. On your right is ADA parking. So there will be quite some signage and communication challenges there, but this is the general idea that we agreed that we would like to have a traffic flow to the left, ADA to the right. The center remains unblocked, uninterrupted for for outgoing fire trucks.
And this
That
is
is just a very
But yeah,
visual. They
another
trying
view.
to send us a message.
Yeah,
that's the other way coming from.
yeah, but that's also showing us that that parking area is pretty large.
Yeah.
Is I think what they're showing us there.
You can
And
see the best here.
yes, this is
Size.
this all comes from them, right?
Yeah.
This is their aerial view, where it appears that they want to keep the parking in the parking lot. They want to only have the blue area would be for the ADA parking. It sounds like the red area.
That's
The red
correct.
area they want us to stay out of.
That's correct. So basically, they would have uninterrupted flow to like a circular flow for their trucks, and ADA would still be available closest to the entry to the facility.
And this looks to be another view of roughly the same thing.
Same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing with sample signage that we have kind of tried to talk through that may assist.
Okay. We have a lot of signs that tell people where not to go. We obviously want to make sure that we have plenty of signs that tell people where they can go. Realizing that we really need to do both.
And the plan, David, too, is to also have crossing guards or some type of something that will direct traffic as people are coming in to the proper, locations.
Sure.
So this is the part that requires additional visit. Because if you move this line of 100 feet across, it should cover more or less whole of the ADA parking to the left. It should cover whole of the entrance to the right.
Why would we do that?
I'm just saying this is what came as one of the suggestions, not necessarily something that we agreed to. As I said, this was provided to us after we went there, after we made after we had conversation, after we made the initial agreement, and I believe after Kevin received the confirmation from Mr. Steve that agreement is there, everything is set. This came around as a consider, what if, would it work going forward, things like that. So
okay, my reaction to this is kind of like what Alex's initial reaction was, which is that that the electioneering line and the parking are kind of separate issues. I mean, they're not totally unrelated, but we don't need an 100-foot electioneering line in order to tell people that they can't block certain areas and can't park in certain locations. And if we have the 100-foot electioneering line, they just demonstrated that we basically are taking everybody, off of the area that is actually where the voters go. I mean, we're taking them, across pavement from there.
Yeah, I
So,
think that one of the considerations, if I try to interpret what we were heard, if you take this line and move it all the way to your right on the screen, you will literally go, you will block that entrance that they want to be blocked for civil traffic.
well, again, I guess my question is, I'm going to stop sharing if that's okay. Um, my question would be, again, is that a requirement to do both? I mean, why can't you have a 25-foot line for where people are electioneering, but a separate parking limitation? I don't think I don't think that the electioneering line and the parking limitation are the same, because we have lots of facilities that are doing other things while we're there.
I think that
Yeah.
our initial agreement with volunteer fire department addresses the issue of the parking, and the agreement was that everyone was on board, that the proposal was good. It will take some work to implement it, but we are up to that. And I believe it's a fair, just like we had this meeting to revisit how everything went on in 2022, to have another follow-up conversation after 2024. Because what we propose for 2024 is absolutely an improvement compared to 2022. And I think this is how the process should work. We all learn something new. We all also learn from them, for example, that crossing guards come with a different posture.
Different authoritative posture than, say, our election judges may.
So this
Oh
is
yeah, they wear uniforms and they blow whistles and such. So
there you go. So I
yes.
believe that we are on a good path. I believe that these are not just tweaks. What we presented or agreed, this is like rethinking parking and flow from the scratch. But you are right. Separating parking from campaigning, it's an obvious goal for all of us.
I mean, obviously, as I think we all know, there are competing interests here. There's a constitutional right to vote, and there's a constitutional right to electioneer, and there's the public safety needs to make sure that we don't interfere with, with our public safety officers doing the work. And it doesn't strike me that we necessarily have to view it as a zero-sum situation. I think that we can probably address all of the above. One of my questions is, I'm sure we have to address it on the last night of early voting, but do we have a sense from anyone who was there in the past? And I'm not sure. I realize that we don't have another recent presidential to base it on, but how many other days do we think that we actually are going to have this kind of a significant parking problem? We probably want to have the signage for not parking or entering in certain directions always. But as far as having crossing guards and our staff and all that, that might be a little bit different.
So we initially proposed at least the first and last day. So we'll start with day one. And if day one proves that, we're going to work with them as well as Montgomery County Police and crossing guards to kind of have a fluctuating. If day one, it will definitely day one, final day. And then if there is a need on day two, we'll have the ability to kind of backfill on an as needed basis.
Peak hours.
During peak hours. The goal would be to not have somebody from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, because that would be cost prohibitive. So if we can do the peak hours, at least for day one, day 8, and then we can backfill whatever else is needed. Kind of an ad hoc basis.
And it's cost prohibitive probably without need. I mean, we want to be there when it's needed, obviously. Diane, I'll call on you just a second. I just have one other general comment. A lot of these photos look very different than what the electioneering zone looks like when you have a Dropbox and what it's looked like recently. And I think in the case of Silver Spring, it might be that the aerial photo is from a more recent election, while the other photo is from an earlier election. And so we may want to chat about that because we want to make sure that the electioneers are not crowding the people as they are putting stuff into the drop boxes or blocking the drop boxes. And I'm just recalling that a number of the lines were further away. I know the Potomac line was further away when I had to go there during the recent election. I'm pretty sure the Silver Spring line was well, the Silver Spring line was definitely so that people can go up the stairs and into the building without the electioneers being there. I mean, there's a number of those like that, and I do look forward to going and looking at Wheaton again with Kevin to kind of trying to figure out what we think about the garage. Diane.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. David, you touched on my question. I'm sufficiently unclear about what the rules are for electioneering zones around drop boxes. I mean, I'm just hazarding a guess. To my knowledge, I don't know that there is a body of work defined for electioneering zones around drop boxes as there are around we've got the general electioneering zones. Okay, that's historical. Drop boxes are a rather new innovation. What are the rules for electioneering? No electioneering zones around drop boxes.
So Diane, there, you need to have a no electioneering zone, and Boris, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna be actually on the box itself. And it's supposed to be 25 feet from the box.
Okay.
In many locations, that will be consistent with the line that will be for the no electioneering for the entrance to the front door, so that we don't have two lines that are very confusing to voters.
Okay.
That's a lot of
So-
what I'm concerned about as well.
Yeah.
That
So
kind of
it's-
confusion.
It really will take a visual to see the Dropbox location to reconcile any confusion concerning those boundaries, correct?
It will, and we'll get some photographs will depict it. I think the no electioneering zones are they're gonna be identical in essence for those that are entering the building and those that are going to the drop box.
Okay.
I think a lot of that depends on the placement of the Dropbox.
Dropbox.
Yeah, because I was wondering, would a Dropbox necessarily extend the no electioneering zone?
It depends where it is, but the other
Yeah.
problem you have, like, I know that at Potomac Community Center, one of the issues was that if the electioneers are standing in front of the Dropbox, the people who drive in to drop off their ballot can't always see it because the electioneers are in front of it.
Okay.
And we obviously want people to know where the drop boxes are so they can drop off their ballots, you know, in an expeditious fashion, because that's especially at a place like Potomac where we've had parking issues. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to do that. But sometimes it's a delicate balance. It kind of depends where the boxes are.
Yeah, because you don't want to infringe on the right of an electioneer to have a reasonable zone in which to influence a voter or.
And you don't want to infringe on the right of the voter to get to where they have to go without having to walk through people.
Yeah.
We do have some electioneers who are more sensitive and some who are less sensitive to the voters' needs to get where they're going.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Alex, were you trying to say something over there?
No, I was just saying, I guess if it's possible to put the box, I was just thinking within the electioneering zone, then that would solve the problem, but you may not always be able to make that work, you know? So,
Um, yes, that is, that
It,
is,
it will be the case often, Alex, because the box will have to be under video surveillance. And so, for example, in a lot of locations, the camera is right by the front door.
yeah.
that's a very good point, Kevin, that in some cases, I mean, the Dropbox has almost a limited location because of that.
Right.
You know, so, um, any other comments about the, early voting electioneering lines presentation that we just had? Okay, I think we have a bit of homework before we will come back to that um, next next month. Um, did you, Boris and Mindy, want to talk about the no electioneering zones for the polling places for Election Day 2024?
Uh, I'll just very briefly, as we did previously, I drafted a memo for the board and posted it on our website. Again, the memo repeats the legal requirements in a maybe different flow, but same requirements for the non-electioneering zones for the polling places on election day as it's for the early voting. And the memo indicates that non-electioneering zones that were approved for 2022 polling places will be reproposed by the staff to the board to approve in February meeting with the addition of 5 polling places that are different that will be different this year compared to 2022 as board approved when the board approved the polling place plan. So this was meant just to be an introduction to the issue, to give an information to our voters that memo is on the website, polling places, non-electioneering zones are on our websites. There is if you don't know which precinct you are, but you know your polling place, you just need to go through our alpha list, find your polling place, and it will have 4 digits in front of the name. The first 2 digits will indicate the election district, and the last 2 digits will indicate the polling, the precinct. So this is how everyone will be able to identify their polling place. So anyhow, any additional information, we are always available. Everyone can reach out to us, email or call. We will walk everyone through it. As I said, this was just intention to announce that this work is completed on the level of recommendation that will be presented to the board in February, but it's available on our website for anyone who would like to comment in meanwhile, so we can gather those comments to present them to the board in February.
And I would like to encourage anyone who is concerned about no electioneering zones, and particularly our friends associated with the Democratic Central Committee and Republican Central Committee, or really with any of the campaigns, since we're talking about a primary election, to look at those proposals and let us know, preferably a week before our next meeting. Our next meeting will be a week after President's Day. So I would ask that people send us their comments by the end of that Tuesday after President's Day, so they can be compiled for the board to consider. Boris, I did want to clarify, for the 2022 election, we did have some polling places that we were not able to use for the primary because of the July date and the lack of air conditioning. And and therefore the no electioneering zones may have been for a different room in various buildings. I know that in at least at Wooten High School, that was one of them. And I guess my question is, when you say that you're essentially staying with the 2022 election, are you talking about the 2022 general election, or do we need to clarify which election we are following?
General, right? That's my answer. So,
Yeah.
the Wooten, high school, my understanding of the issue is, as you said, the picture presented one entrance for one room that was not utilized due to the move election of the election day. So, that was a updating issue that shouldn't have happened, but it happened, so we will fix it going forward. The idea is to rely on polling places as for the general elections of 2022. But we will,
Okay.
again, everything is available. Any
Right.
comments? There are 234. If we have a typo here and there, please let us know, even though we would like to fix.
No, I absolutely, and I understand. I mean, obviously, the primary in 2022 was one of the bigger challenges of 2022, trying to find locations on relatively short notice. 3 weeks later than we originally thought we needed them. And, we did an amazing job of doing what we did, but I'm glad to know that essentially we're following the general election of 2022 as far as the suggestions for the electioneering zones. Any other comments or questions about the no electioneering zones? Okay, list of future action items from today's meeting.
I don't know if I can summarize it like this, but I believe that board came up with the future action items for board president and council to visit Wheaton and Sandy Spring.
Which I'm sure we'll be happy to do. Kevin will be charging for his time. I will not. But and if anyone else wants to join, obviously that is fine. I don't think that was our only future action, but I do think I'm sure Kevin and I will find plenty to talk about in the drive on the way to those locations.
And yeah, Mindy and I, we would certainly like to be on disposal to answer any operational questions on the spot that we can.
I think you're meeting us there. I just have this suspicion, because I don't think you really want to leave two lawyers to decide this all by themselves without the operational people. That just doesn't sound like a good idea.
I apologize if I'm too obvious.
No, you're not. You're not. You're not. Um, I think that it would be helpful if we can find, and I may have some, and maybe other people have some, any photographs of what the no electioneering zones at early voting looked like more recently when we did have drop boxes, or to find a way to simulate where we think the drop box is going to be in order to help us to understand where the lines are related to where the drop boxes are. Because it sounds like for every location, every early voting location, because not every polling place will have a drop box, but every early voting location will have a drop box. We're going to want to understand the interaction between the early voting, I'm sorry, the electioneering zone and the drop box. So I would consider that to be, you tell me, Boris and Mindy, what the best way to do that is, other than my looking to see whatever photographs I might have. And I don't know how easy it is or hard it is to figure out where the drop boxes have been used in the past for those places that are repeats, which for
I
early
can
voting is
also,
all of them.
I can also see if I can, I work with Chris to see if we've got to have something that at least has the generalized locations of Dropbox location for, all locations, and potentially share it with you guys, David.
That would be great.
And please keep in mind, for the activity center at Borough Park, it's been in multiple locations.
That is true.
It's been in the front, by the front entrance, it's been by the swimming pool, it's been by the side As you
Yeah,
drive down to the swimming pool, it's been in multiple locations.
yes, and if and I will not vote for it to be near the swimming pool. I will only vote for it to be in front of the building because I when it was on by the swimming pool, I had trouble finding it and I was looking for it. So uh, I think that it needs to be somewhere near the front of the building, but I think it's also been on both sides of the main entrance, like the left and the right, and so obviously there's we have to figure that one out. But thank you, Kevin, for that.
Okay.
Anyone else with future action items from today's meeting, other than our Kevin and I taking a trip down Georgia Avenue? Okay, then the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from November 20th, and we have the minutes from December 18th. For the minutes on November 20th, let me just find what I think is the most recent version, which I think was, it would help if I could spell minutes. All right, so I had a version that I shared with the board at roughly 12 noon yesterday for the November 20th minutes. It included comments that Ami made as well. So do I hear a motion to approve that version? Daniel?
Yeah, I move we approve David's noonish version of the November 20th, 2023 minutes.
And I second it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, once again, I'm gonna do a quick roll call. Daniel?
I vote yes.
Keena?
I vote yes.
Diane?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so it is unanimous. Okay, for the December minutes, we have the we have the most minor of issues with the December minutes because Ami proposed an amendment to the minutes that actually would have I actually had inserted something in the minutes that I took directly from the recording. It's the difference between the word expect and suspect.
Yeah, right.
And what our esteemed counsel said at the meeting was suspect. I can understand why Ami thought that expect might have been a better word. I don't really have a strong opinion. I usually go with what was actually said. But that would be the only question remaining as far as whether we include Ami's amendment or not. Does anybody have an opinion? Maybe I should ask Kevin whether he has an opinion between the difference between suspect and expect.
I do not. I'm fine with either one.
Okay, then I'm gonna take the chair's prerogative since Ami's not here to vote them, to move them the version that says suspect, which was the version that I proposed. And that would be, it was sent to you all at 5:11 p.m. Last night.
Right. I second that version.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote. Daniel?
I vote yes.
Keena?
I vote yes.
Diane?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, thank you all very much. Our future meetings, our next meeting will be on Monday, February the 26th at 3 p.m. And then in March, as it says on our agenda, we will be back to the third Monday of the month, which is March the 18th. And before we adjourn the public meeting, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. The purpose of the executive session is to protect the privacy or reputation of individuals concerning a matter not related to public business.
So moved by Daniel Karuma.
Okay, Daniel moves it. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Diane. Is there any discussion? Boris, is your hand relating to that or to something else? You are muted, Boris.
I just wanted to confirm after the vote if the board members have received the link to the new session in their emails.
I did.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Boris. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we have our executive session for that purpose. I don't see any discussion. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. Daniel?
I vote yes.
Kina?
I vote yes.
Diane?
aye.
Alex?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, thank you very much to the members of the public who participated and board members. I'll see you on the other side in just a moment.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you
So
very
we
much.
leave. We all
Thank
leave.
you.
We all leave and then we come in on the executive session. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry?